Could you survive stranded and alone like Mark Watney on the desolate surface of Mars? I've been a fan of the sci fi genre basically my whole life. And to mention a few of my favorites Gravity, Interstellar, Blade Runner 2049, Inception, and the Avatar series. But the one that stuck with me the most for the longest time, and was the most interesting in terms of the science depicted, was The Martian. Quick recap for anyone who hasn't seen the film The Martian. Astronaut and botanist Mark Watney gets left behind on Mars after a dust storm incident. He's alone, with basically nothing, and he has to survive using pure science and grit, with the very little resources he has left, while NASA and his crew members figure out how to bring him home. What actually got me was how much time the film spends on the seemingly monotonous stuff. Like, they genuinely dedicate close to 20 minutes to him just growing potatoes. But in there lies the beauty of the film and its depiction of the science and why it stood out to me. It's not hand wavy, it's real botany. He rehydrates Martian soil, fertilizes it with his own waste, and even later on, NASA plant scientists have said that his reasonings hold up. The choice of potatoes were actually the right call. They're dense in calories, they're hardy, and even later on, NASA and International Potato Center literally ran a real experiment a year later in 2016, growing potatoes in Mars-like soil simulant to test this idea. And then there's the water scene. He needs way more water than he already has, so he works out the actual chemistry on screen: hydrogen plus oxygen. Burn it, get water, and pulls the hydrogen out of the leftover rocket fuel using a real catalytic reaction, which nearly kills him. And the line that stuck with everyone, I'm going to have to science the shit out of this. And it kind of became this mini cultural moment. Even Bill Gates himself has quoted it. The space travel side holds up too. The trip out is shown to taken around 8 months, which lines up with the real transit times to Mars. And the cruise ship, the Hermes, has a big rotating section that spins to fake gravity because hundreds of days of actual weightlessness wrecks your bones and muscles. And that's a real, seriously studied problem in spaceflight. And the rescue plan, the Rich Purnell maneuver, slingshotting the ship around Earth's gravity to save time, isn't fiction either, it's real. In the past, a real Japanese Mars probe used almost the same trick to get a second shot at its mission. Even the small details check out, like the site Watney lands at, the Acidilia Planitia, is a real place on Mars that later NASA photographed with its own orbiter. And when he digs up an old NASA lander to contact Earth, the actual engineer who built the lander said the idea itself of spelling out messages using rotating camera and hexadecimal code was basically plausible, just slower in real life compared to how it is depicted in the movie. And none of this is incidental either. NASA had staff embedded in the writing of the filming process the whole way through. This film treats science itself as core and the main character. And that's what's really hit me personally, because I study software engineering. Watching Watney work is basically watching somebody debug a system that's actively trying to kill him. He isolates one variable at a time, tests a hypothesis, and breaks an impossible problem into smaller substeps which you can actually solve. As Watney said, you solve one problem, then you solve the next one. That's genuinely how I think about debugging and coding, and seeing it apply to survival instead of just coding changed how I see that process. It's not just coding skill, it's a way of thinking under pressure and solving problems. And also shows the ever enduring spirit and the unyielding will of human race. The second thing that impacted me is the way the whole planet shows up for one person. Scientists, politicians, two rival countries, they all drop what they're doing to save Watney. And the film treats that instinct of humans to help one another as just fundamental human aspect. And the last thing, honestly, is just his humor. He's alone on a dead planet, and he's still cracking jokes to keep himself sane. I don't know if I'd have that in me. That part stuck with me the most, because it wasn't about being fearless. It was about finding a way to keep functioning anyway and keep pushing forward. So yeah, that's why the film stuck with me. Not because of the plot, but because of what it says about how people think through impossible problems and endure, and how it managed to portray science in a captivating way and did not dumb it down and actually went through the trouble of showing us the process. Thank you.